Hey everybody, KMO here. Long time no talk. Yes, there's the dog. I was watching a few different things today on YouTube and also reading on Substack about Ozempic, this, what is it, GLP-1 type drug. And one of the things that I was watching was by Scott Galloway, who is a professor of economics, I think, but he gives a lot of like TED Talk type things, not necessarily for that organization, TED, but he was talking about his predictions for 2024, and he was saying that 2024 is not going to be the year of AI. 2024 is going to be the year of the GLP-1 drugs, like Ozempic, the ones that disrupt your cravings for food. And more than like disrupting cravings, it institutes satiety. I mean, it makes you feel satisfied just by default. And if you eat a lot, then you'll feel nauseous and you'll probably throw up. And not only, and this is really interesting to me, not only does Ozempic and similar type drugs moderate your food intake, it also causes a lot of people to moderate their alcohol intake and even, and this is super interesting, even moderate their social media intake. Now, you could say that alcohol is just going to carry along with food and that it's caloric, you're going to feel slightly full once you consume some. So anything that, is going to prevent you from eating a lot of food is probably also going to prevent you from taking in a lot of calories in the form of alcohol. But social media, I mean, what we're talking about here is disrupting the reward functions of the brain, which have been hijacked by modern food-like products, not really food, but as Michael Pollan says, edible food-like products, manufactured food substitutes, which are very bad for us and which are deliberately made to be highly addicting, and which the manufacturers of this product, they spend billions of dollars annually to get images of their products into your mind and to get the names of their products into your mind so that when you are feeling that itch, you're going to reach for their product, which destroys your health. It will fuck you up, and it's perfectly legal, and it is facilitated by government policy, particularly the Farm Bill and the economic machinations by which we just maximize corn production, and then we have to find some use for all this frickin' corn. But anyway, Ozempic. One thing that's interesting about it to me is that it is messing with your brain in order to make you have a slim stomach. In order to trim down your waistline, it is tinkering around with your neurotransmitters and your neurological circuitry, specifically your reward circuitry. What will the long-term effects of that be? Nobody knows. So it could be, and Scott Galloway in his talk was super positive about Ozempic. He was saying, look, this is not only going to disrupt the very destructive, borderline evil food-like product industry, it's also going to disrupt the diabetes industry. And the diabetes industry is, its existence is a consequence of the existence and the effectiveness of the food-like manufactured products, that we put into our bodies and which are given these massive boosts in terms of getting the idea and the imagery and the names of these products into our heads. Ozempic is in a zero-sum competition with those other industries, which is a good thing. Now, it could be horrendous on its own. I mean, its long-term consequences, the long-term effects of what it does to our brains and our behavior, and just our way of interacting with the world could be horrific. We just don't know. But another thing that's interesting to me about it is, in the past, if you had a genie, come out of the lamp, and the genie was to say to you, you can have one wish, but there's a condition. You can wish into existence one drug. What would it be? For a lot of people, they would wish for a drug that would let you eat all you want and never get fat. Well, that's not what Ozempic is. Unless you flip it around and say, yeah, you can eat all you want, but you don't want much, So Ozempic is not supercharging the diabetes industry and the manufactured food-like products industry. It's in competition with them. A drug that really did let you eat all you want and not get fat, that would be totally consistent and synergistic with, the horrible food industry that has destroyed our health over the past, few decades. So it is in competition. It is not a magnifier. It is not a multiplier of the downsides of not having fresh food anymore. Just not organizing our lives around freshly prepared food. And the other thing that's interesting to me about this, because it's not an eat-all-you-want drug, it's an eat-less drug. The physiological effects of the weight loss are going to come from something quite similar to intermittent fasting, which I've been seriously overweight in my time, and I've been very thin in certain parts of my life. Exercise has something to do with it, but more than anything, it's my eating habits and it's my consumption habits. And intermittent fasting has been the best thing, for maintaining, I don't know if it's a healthy weight, but an attractive weight, And along with weight change in intermittent fasting comes psychological effects that are a lot like the effects that I get from a regular meditative practice or from doing a lot of yoga. There's a certain mental calm that comes from intermittent fasting. And I think part of it is, when you first start intermittent fasting, when you're in your non-eating parts of the day, you're thinking about food all the time. But that goes away. And, the cravings that would send you into the kitchen after dinner in the evening, when you're not on an intermittent fasting regimen, they just stop occurring. If you stop gratifying them, if you stop acting on those impulses, they fade away. Does that happen with Ozempic? Is there a possibility that, you could take it for a while and basically train yourself out of just habitually reaching for these horrific edible food-like products? That would be cool. There's no evidence that that's the case yet. I'm just asking the question. But if that were the case, that would be really cool. And if it's not the case, and Novo Nordisk would hate this, Novo Nordisk? That's it. Novo Nordisk would hate this, but maybe somebody could develop a competing drug to Ozempic, which is something that you take for a limited time. Like maybe you take a course of it for 3 or 4 weeks, and thereafter it has lingering effects that don't require you to continue to take the drug. Wouldn't that be cool? Now, they'd probably price it at $100,000 or something, but, you can't kill the manufactured food industry and the pharmaceutical industry at the same time, or at least not with a drug. So that's basically it. Those are the things that are interesting to me, that this drug is at odds with other sectors of the economy and at this point our culture, which are very, very bad for us, and which basically they get fat by making us fat. They live large by making us live pathetically. One other thing I want to mention on the topic of Ozempic, and this is something that somebody that Sagar and Jetty and Crystal Ball were talking to on their show. I forget the name of his book. I forget the name of the guy, but he's all over the web right now talking about Ozempic. This author was saying that his emotionally soothing food of choice was fried chicken, and he would go to chicken restaurants, and he went to one, and the employees greeted him by name, and they gave him an award for being their best customer, and this was shattering to him because this wasn't the chicken joint that he went to most often. But he said that when he was on Ozempic, he was having a really bad day and he wanted to self-soothe with food, and he went to a chicken restaurant and he ordered a big bucket of fried chicken, and he sat down at the table and he realized, oh shit, I can't eat this. Like, I'll get sick if I eat this much chicken. I can't do this anymore. And so his idea was that the suicidal ideation that might come from Ozempic would be a result of having to face the issues that make you miserable, the causes for your psychological distress, which you used to soothe with food. And if you can't soothe them with food anymore, and you haven't worked out some more, workable, humane, effective, sustainable means of dealing with, your unresolved issues, you might think about ending it all. So Ozempic could force people into a lot more than they were bargaining for in terms of dealing with their own issues. They just wanted to get skinny, and instead they're faced with the reality of whatever it was that was causing them to eat so much to begin with. All right, that is all. Buy, and more importantly, review my book. 5-star reviews, please. on Amazon. And remember that I don't post here to YouTube very often anymore because I'm basically shadow banned. I can't get any traction here. I get more traction over on Substack, so that's where I'm directing my efforts. So if you want to know what I'm up to, go to Substack. And if you don't like reading, well, you should read. But I do record audio narration for at least half of my posts over there. All right, stay well.